Hey everybody, good morning, General Chemistry. Hey, we got 2 weeks left here, right? Okay, let's finish strong. Get done what we need to get done. Go out there, earn that top grade that you're after. I've talked with at for a couple weeks now. I guess I'll just say I've talked about what you may need to do if you are just looking to get through the course to get a passing score at this point. If you need information on that, go back to the last couple weeks worth of messages for me and listen to them, read through what you need to, get in contact with me. Okay. If you plan on making a change to your grade, no pass or a D that you got going on right now, you're going to need to make some changes to get to that pass. Okay. To get to that passing grade, that is what it is. And I've contacted many of your families regarding that. So you got to go back and take care of your business. Do it soon. You don't want to try and get a hold of me next Tuesday when you're starting kind of from scratch on something. Get going on that, please. But the rest of my message is for where we should be. Okay, so here's what's going on here with basically a couple weeks left here. Some of you are in the middle of the Fishkill project right now, which is where you ought to be. Okay, that's what's going on. That's the current situation, the current assignment and curriculum we're going through. So as you have found already, you have to go through a little bit of a water quality questionnaire type of a thing, a lot of different sources of where you can find information on there. Make sure that you cite all of your sources. Remember, Google is a search engine. It is not a website. So don't cite Google, okay? Write down what you got there. Then you want to get through part one if you haven't already. Hopefully you are. I know a number of people are already through that, which is great. Okay, so keep that up and keep working through that. Part one was figuring out I hope I got the right one here. Let's see here. Yep, there we go. Part one, by the way, read everything. You got to read all of your directions here. That's super important. Do not just dive into it, think you know exactly what's going on. Read everything. Read directions I've given you in the extended learning folders if necessary. Go take a look at that. And also anything on the documents that you are writing on for this project. But anyway, read through that. Basically, your big deal here on part one was to read through some scenarios that could be why the fish kill occurred. Okay, possible reasons. Okay, and you're going to be coming back to these in part three. Molecular substances in the river, inappropriate oxygen levels. In other words, oxygen levels too low or too high, maybe. Then you got heavy metal poisoning as well, scenario 3, and scenario 4 is gas bubble trauma. Okay, you'll be putting your summaries of those situations, those possible reasons for the fish kill, right there where you see it in the middle of the screen right now, highlighted in yellow. You will be able to write right on your document and get that in. Okay, if you haven't already, you should be able to take care of that. This is information that will come up later. I've mentioned before that the units there are micrograms per liter. That's a millionth of a gram per liter is what a microgram would be. So, but anyway, that's what's going on with that. You also have various stakeholders, I'll say, in this community. You are supposed to highlight certain information regarding each group. Highlight what their job is, as well as any other information you find important. The more that you put into the work on part one and part two that I'm going to show you, the easier part three is going to be. Okay, I'm telling you. So, again, hopefully that stuff's all done. Now we get to part two here. Here's where you ought to be with the main thing for the main assignment that you are in right now. And again, read through this very carefully. You can see in blue there, it says analyze data and look at the graphs provided by clicking on the group name. Answer the questions while looking at each group's data. I went through an example of this on scientists last week. Just to kind of give you an idea what's going on here. So I'd click on scientist, and you're going to do this for engineers and everybody else there, okay? So you're not just picking one group. You have to do this for every single group. You have 2 to 4 questions you have to answer. Use a different color that you are answering in so I can find your answers very easily, please. I think it will work out really good. But anyways, scientist graph data. So the first graph is asking me, is popping up there. The first question says, looking at the first graph, what happened to the temperature of the water over the first week in September? So I would go to the first graph. There it is. And what happened to the temperature of the water during the first week of September? Well, if you look at that bar graph there, the temperature didn't change. It's at, 11 degrees Celsius, we can say? I'd say that's a pretty fair assessment there, every single day. So my answer would be that the water temperature did not change that first week. Simple as that. Okay. So you'll be analyzing different graphs. There are more than one graph that you would have to look at based on the questions that you are given. Okay. So basically, that's what's going on with that. You would type that in here and move on to the next question. Keep doing that for engineers, power company officials, agriculture, mining company representatives, Chamber of Commerce, the Sanitation Commission, and the Taxpayer Association. Okay. So you answer all those questions for them based on whatever question you are asked and the graphical information that you are given. Okay. So that's what's going on with that. You want to have that done by the end of this week, Friday. Okay. And if you finish early, I would recommend moving on to part 3 because last I heard this late this last week, that Chromebook turn in is sometime mid to the end of next week. Okay. Wednesday or Thursday, something like that. June 3rd or 4th. Well, this is, you're going to want to get this done before you have to turn that in, assuming that the Chromebook is your, main way of getting this stuff done. And considering in part 3 that you need to make a Screencastify, which is a Google extension in your Chromebooks, it's probably going to be useful to have your Chromebook when you do this. So that's why I'm saying you might want to jump ahead a little bit. Now, if you've done your due diligence on part 1 and part 2, in other words, that you have really wrote things down, you've studied things, you've dove into it to a high level, so you should know a lot of stuff at this point. Now you got a main couple of questions here that you have to answer on part 3, which are up here. It's going to ask you which scenario makes the most sense based on the data above. Look back at the questions you answered in task 3 and pick one scenario you feel comfortable supporting. Okay. And why does this scenario make the most sense as the cause? Give at least 5 different reasons and cite specific data. And 3, why do the other 3 scenarios not make sense? And list at least 2 reasons and cite specific data for each of the 3 unlikely scenarios. Okay. Well, those are some things that you're going to want to probably put together. You can write it right in here, and that's fine with me. And then you have to prepare for the town council meeting. These are things I'm going to be looking for in your town council meeting presentation, which it states down here in blue. You will be making a presentation at the town hall meeting about your findings. You will pick one of the 4 scenarios that make sense and explain why based on the data. You should also be placing blame on one of the groups from part 2 for not monitoring their data. Be sure you are referencing and using the data or graphs from part 2 in your presentation. So you will need to use some of the graphs that you used or looked at in part 2 that I just kind of went through. So you'll need to use that stuff. You're going to put this all into a slideshow. Okay. And I have a copy of that. And by the way, what scenarios am I talking about here? The 4 scenarios. What caused the fish kill? Molecular substance in the water, low oxygen levels, heavy metal in the water, or metal poisoning, or gas bubble trauma. Okay. Those are the scenarios you are trying to support. So which one of those things caused the fish kill, and which group from part 2 is responsible for that cause? You need to explain why. You need to cite data. You need to point to certain things, graphs perhaps. And then you also need to say why the other 3 situations are not the main cause of the fish kill. Okay. And don't forget to use data to support your findings there as well. Okay. So that's really what's going on there. There is a rubric down at the bottom there. What is that rubric going to be looking at? It is going to be looking at this bad boy right here. All right. This is the template, which is found right at the bottom of part 3. I know I pointed this out in my last meeting. It's right here. It says, use this template. Boom, right in the middle there, right? So basically, I go to that. You should put your name right there, right? You can use different colors, different fonts, anything. I don't care. It's cool with me. Okay. More pictures you have, that helps too, right? Okay. You're going to definitely need graphs that we've provided for you in part 2. Okay. So go back and look at those when you need to, as far as what happened. Okay. What caused the fish kill? Okay. How do you know? What data do you have to support that? Right. Okay. So there you go. How do you know that what the cause of the fish kill was? In other words, those four possible causes, which one caused the fish to die? Okay. How do we know this? Okay. And what group is responsible? Okay. That might be what we talk about here. How do you know that this is the case and who's responsible for it? Who's to blame? What data on the graphs can you look at to help support what you're saying? What didn't happen? How do you know that? In other words, well, what three scenarios did not contribute as much to that fish kill, and how do you know that? Okay. You can add more and more slides to this. You don't have to stick with just 5 slides. Okay. And then 5 is your conclusion. It's really summing up everything that you did. Okay. So summarize which group is responsible for the fish kill. Okay. There are little questions at the bottom here. I know some of my screen is blocking those out, but definitely read those. Okay. And I'll go over that late this week or early next week, is again just to see what's going on with that. But that's for you who want to work ahead and get this done. Once the fish kill is done, you are done with chemistry for the year. You're done. Okay, so congratulations. That's cool. But I will check in maybe later this week, for sure early next week. Okay, with you as well, to make sure that we all finish strong. And that's really all I got. Okay. By the way, the Screencastify Chromebook extension, you've used this before. It's in your Chromebook. I've required that you use it, or your previous chemistry teacher may have, for a project that we've went through already. So that's all I got. And I wish you luck. If you have any questions or problems, please come see me during Google Meets, and I can help you understand things. Otherwise, get a hold of me, email through Schoology. Thank you very much. Have a great week. Well, it's supposed to stop.